Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to do a different kind of video. We're going to do a story time video. I've had multiple people request that I start doing story time videos on my channel because I'll be 35 December, and in my 34 years, I've really been through some very unique situations. I guess would be a good word to describe them. So if you are only subscribed to my channel for the beauty videos and the storytime video doesn't interest you, I completely 100% understand, and go ahead and click off this video and wait for the next beauty video. But if you are interested in getting to know a little bit more about me and my past, and think you will enjoy these storytime videos, then please keep watching. This story begins when I was 14 years old. And at that time, the internet was just really beginning to blossom. This is before MySpace, Facebook, any of this. This is even before ICQ. Do y'all remember ICQ? That is how long ago that is. This is 20 years ago, people. So, I lived in a very strict home, and I wasn't allowed to just freely get on the internet whenever I wanted to. You know, we didn't have our smartphones and our iPads and stuff to just walk around connected to the world at any time. You had to actually sit down at a desktop computer with dial-up internet. You know, somebody called, you got knocked off the internet. It was just, I'm so glad technology has advanced since then. But my brother and I were allowed 1 hour a day on the computer. So I would run home from school basically and get online because I loved it. I just thought it was the coolest thing ever. And I was very, very into the chat rooms, which were extremely dangerous. But as a 14-year-old child, I didn't really see the danger. You know what I mean? So eventually I met this guy on there, and his name was Blaine, and he told me he was 18. He lived in Hilton Head, South Carolina. He had a Porsche. His dad owned the chain of McDonald's in Hilton Head. You know, he fed me a bunch of things that would catch my attention. And I was like, ooh, he's rich, you know. So I talked to Blaine every single day. And then eventually it got to where we were not only on the computer talking, we were calling each other. I remember so vividly, my aunt would have to run me every day down to this gas station. It was called the Sugar Shack. If you're from my hometown, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And I would buy either like a $5 or a $10 prepaid phone card, and they would print it out of their little machine, and then I would go home and I would call Blaine. I only was allowed an hour on the phone also. So anyway, I was talking to Blaine, and this went on for like 2 years. I mean, and during this 2 years, he was going to come meet me. You know, my parents had no idea about this stuff, but something always happened. He never could come meet me or whatever. So we just kept on talking. You know, I love you. It was just, I had really strong feelings for this guy that I had no idea. I hadn't even seen a picture of him at this point. Okay, so fast forward to 16 years old, still same circumstances, you know, still talking, whatever. And he called my phone. My dad answered. And I'm assuming this is the first time my dad's ever talked to him, like heard his voice. Because that particular time he called, I remember my dad said, how old is this boy? And I said 18. And he said, there's no way. He sounds way older than that. And I was like, he's 18, Dad. You know, I was very defensive of Blaine because I had feelings for him. So I was talking to him, and that kind of sparked some curiosity in my dad. Now, I lived next door to the sheriff of our county at that time. And my dad and him were really, you know, pretty close. We lived right beside each other. I basically grew up in their house. Spent the summers in their pool and playing with, you know, I played with their daughter. My brother played with their son. You know, we knew each other, like, really well. And so my dad goes to the sheriff. Now, I have no idea. None of this is going on. And I think at this point, my dad had told me that I wasn't allowed to talk to him anymore. Because my dad just knew. He had a gut feeling something wasn't right. But, you know, I didn't see it. So I wasn't allowed to talk to him at this point. But, of course, I was sneaking and talked to him anyway. So my dad goes and talks to the sheriff, and they did a little research. I'm not sure what they did, how they did it, or whatever. But I remember I was sitting in the dining room, which is where our desktop computer was. And I was talking to Blaine. And if anybody walked in, I would just, you know, click off that window and click on something. You know, I'm doing homework. I mean, in reality, I'm over here talking to Blaine. But I remember they come in and they was like, "Are you talking to Blaine?" And I said, "No," because I X'd off that window. And I remember being really afraid because, like, you could see Sirius tattooed across my dad, my mom, and the sheriff, their foreheads. And I was like, "No, why?" And my mom was like, "Don't lie." And I said, "I'm not." And so they went into the computer, into the history. And at that point, I didn't even know you could do that. So I just got busted bigger than crap. And printed out like so many conversations between me and Blaine. And then they left. And I remember I was scared to death because I didn't know what was going on. And I wanted to sneak and call Blaine because I knew something was up. But my mom, of course, was just like standing there like, "You're not touching that phone." So anyway, they come back. And turns out Blaine is not 18 years old. He is older than that. And I don't think they told me how old, because I don't remember that. And that is something that I would remember. Believe me, this is a very traumatic part of my life. They didn't tell me how old he was, but they said he is not 18. He is much older than that. He doesn't live in Hilton Head. He lives in a town called Spartanburg, South Carolina. His dad does not own no chain of McDonald's. His dad's not even alive. You know, blah, blah, blah. And if you get caught talking to him again, I don't know, you're grounded until you're 50. I don't know what they did, but, you know, whatever. They scared me to death, so I had to quit talking to Blaine. And I kind of got freaked out myself because, you know, all those lies that they just unveiled in front of me, I was just like, betrayed. You know what I mean? Like, how could he lie to me? He was the love of my life. But anyway, they ended up blocking his phone number so he could not call. And, you know, I was monitored closely on the internet, so I didn't get to talk to Blaine no more. Okay, end of it. Fast forward till I'm 20 years old now. This is 4 years later. I haven't thought about Blaine in years. I mean, he was just a goofy teenage mistake. You know what I mean? So, 20 years old. I have a little boyfriend, and, you know, I don't have no kids. Got my own car. Got a good job. Making good money. Having fun with my boyfriend. Life's going great. You know, all groovy gravy, whatever. And my best friend Heather, she has, now listen to this closely, her sister's name is exactly the same as mine. My name is Jennifer Lee Fields. I'm a fine now, but Jennifer Lee Fields. Her sister's name is Jennifer Lynn Fields. So Jennifer L. Fields, both of us. Their phone number and address was listed under her name. So, like, if you called information, because, you know, you couldn't, like, Google back then, but if you called information and, you know, told them the city I lived in and gave my name, it would pop up a number and address, but it was them. It wasn't me. So, I get off work one evening, and Heather called me. And she said, "Jennifer, I think I have a letter here for you." And I was like, "Really?" She said, "Yeah. And they just mistakenly sent it here, and it's supposed to be to you." And I was like, "Well, who's it from?" She said, "Blaine." And I was, you know, like in that moment, the world just stopped for a second. And I was like, "Blaine?" She's like, "Yeah, Blaine." And I was, "Read it to me." So she read it. And it wasn't nothing like a big long letter. It was kind of a short letter, like, "I've been trying to find you for years. I miss you so much. I feel like you're my one true love. Life's never been the same without you. Blah, blah, blah." So she reads that to me, and I was like, okay. I was like, "I'll stop and get it on my way to work tomorrow," or whatever, because we kind of live pretty close too. So, alright. So, my wheels started turning in my head, you know, and I was just like, why is Blaine writing me? What do I do? What do I do? You know, what does he want? Why is he? But also at the same time, all those emotions that I had when I was 14 and 16 years old just kind of like, you know, just like took me away, just took me back. And I don't know. So curiosity gets to me, and I called information, and I said the city and the name, and lo and behold, they give me a phone number. And I call it, and sure enough, there was Blaine. And so we had a conversation. It seems like it was a rather long conversation, but So we started talking again, and he sent me a big old bouquet of flowers to work, you know, and girls like flowers, you know what I mean? Like, so I was just like, oh, you know, he really loves me. But I don't know, I had my little boyfriend, like I said, I thought the world of him. We had so much fun back then. You know, that was when I didn't have any kids and life was fun and carefree. And anyway, so the flowers, they had a card, you know, it said, I love you, love Blaine on them. I took them home, you know, got off work, whatever, and my dad sees those flowers and he was like, what is this? I remember this because I was working third shift and I was in the bed, and my dad, I don't know, he was in my room doing something. He was always so nosy. But he seen the card, and I remember he woke me up and he was like, what is this? And I was like, flowers? He said, from who? I said, Blaine. He was like, so you're talking to Blaine again, huh? And I was like, yeah. You know, I was 20 years old now. Like I said, I had my own car. I was doing my own thing. And he was like, you're not allowed to talk to Blaine. And I thought, I'm not allowed? I said, I'm 20 years old. I'm allowed to talk to whoever I want to. And he was like, not as long as you live under this roof. Rah, 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 you know, just gave me, chewed me out. So I was just like, got mad, whatever. So eventually I told Blaine, you know, I talked to him on my cell phone because I did have a cell phone at that point. And I remember it. It was a little silver one, you know. It wasn't a smartphone, you know, touch screen or nothing. But anywho. So he was like, just come down here. He's like, just leave. You've always, you know, you and your dad have always fought. Just leave. Just come down here. Come live with me. And it's kind of what I did. I mean, like, my dad made me mad, and I just kind of rebelled against him. Like, I'm an adult now, and you have controlled me my entire life. You've never let me do anything. You don't like any of my friends. You don't like any of my boyfriends. And mind you, I was a really good girl. I did not do drugs. I didn't smoke. I never snuck out. Never, not one time. I never went to any parties, you know, and everybody was partying in high school. I didn't go to no parties. I was busy worrying about the Backstreet Boys and NSYNC, and I was going to marry AJ from the Backstreet Boys. You know, me and my friend was like, medically, something wrong with us, obsessed with them. But, so, I ran away. And it was right after that friend that we were obsessed. She had got married in August, and in September I left. I just ran away. And I stopped by where my mom worked, and I told her I was doing it. And I remember she cried. She begged me not to leave. You know, this is dangerous. But you don't know him. But she knew she couldn't stop me because I was 20. And so I just did it. I left. I ran away to South Carolina and went to Blaine. Never seen him at this point now, mind you. So, alright, I get there, and as soon as I got there, I remember he said, are you hungry? And I was. And we went to Fuddruckers, and I got like a chicken strip meal. And on the way back, he said, I've got a few things I want to talk to you about when we get back to the house. And I was like, okay. You know, I'm in South Carolina, honey. I'm free. I'm not, my dad can't control me no more. So, he's like, my sister lives with me. Now, I'd heard about his sister, Megan. And I was like, okay. He was like, well, I just wanted you to know that. He said, and I'm not, and I think at this point, he was supposed to be 22, something like that. Just a couple years older than me, maybe 23. He was like, I'm not, we'll just go with 22. He's like, I'm not really 22 years old. And I was like, well, how old are you? He said, I'm 28. And I was like, okay. You know, I was getting ready to turn 21. I just didn't care. Like, I don't know. Like, my brain was turned off. I don't know. And honestly, you know, at that point, I didn't think anything of it. Now that I look back, like, he did not look like he was 28 years old. But who am I to judge? You know what I'm saying? Like, maybe he had a rough life. I don't know. But at that point in time, I didn't think like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was just happy to be away. I was happy to be away from home. And, okay, so that's what he told me. So, a couple weeks go on, and, you know, we live together, and Megan lives with us, but I never see Megan. I mean, I see Megan, but I never see Megan and Blaine at the same time. Blaine worked day shift, Megan worked evening shift, so they were never there at the same time. And Megan, honestly, she was gone probably 95% of the time. She was 18. She was doing her thing, honey. She had her own car, too. She was dating. She was just out all the time with friends. Me and Megan got to know each other, and I would say, like, on a friend-type basis, but why would we talk about, you know, I mean, I don't know. We didn't talk about super personal things. So anyway, Blaine asked me to marry him. He took me to, I think it was K Jewelers. It was like a big jewelry thing in the mall, and bought me a $4,500 wedding set, and, you know, right there, swept me off my feet. And I did. I married him, and we went to Myrtle Beach for our honeymoon. And while we were there, now Blaine was very jealous, very controlling. Like, back then, I thought Nellie was hot, and it would make him, like, beyond mad, livid, because I thought Nellie was hot. Any actor, you know, that I thought was good looking, like, why are you jealous of that? Do you think, like, I have a chance in hell being with them people? You know what I mean? Like, I'm just saying they're hot. It's not like you don't think he was obsessed with Britney Spears. You know, you lust after Britney Spears, but I'm not jealous about it, because I know there is no way that you're going to be with Britney. So, he was jealous and controlling to the point that if we went to Walmart together and we're walking through Walmart and there was a guy, it didn't have to be a good looking guy, it did not matter. If there was a guy, if we were walking this way and there was a guy walking this way, Blaine would look at me. He would literally watch me just to see if I would even look at that guy. Not smile, wave, flirt. If my eyeballs even looked towards that guy, I caught pure hell over that. I mean, he was like insanely jealous. So, okay, so back to Myrtle Beach on our honeymoon. There's a hot dog stand. I don't know if it's still there because I haven't been to Myrtle Beach in a couple of years, but there used to be a hot dog stand right there on the strip. And if you've been there, you probably know what I'm talking about. So we were there and we got us some food, whatever, and we were sitting there. And the waiter, he brought us our food, and this is literally what I said. Oh my God, he looks just like Paul Walker. I didn't say, oh my God, he is hot. He is hot like Paul Walker. Or, I think Paul Walker is so hot and the waiter looks like him. I didn't say anything, but oh my God, he looks just like Paul Walker. And he did. But I remember Blaine slammed his food down, got up and like stormed out of that hot dog stand. And I was just sitting there like, what'd I do? What did I say? And he left. So I had to walk, and now mind you, our hotel was way up the strip, so I had to walk forever to get back to the hotel. And I go up to our room and open the door, and there he was, and he was mad. I mean, like, every vein in his head and his neck was popped out. I mean, he was waiting for me. He was ready to fight. And I walked in, and I was like, what? Why didn't you leave? And he grabbed me by the throat and like dragged me across this room and threw me on the bed, like very forcefully, and got on top of me. He was holding my arms down like this, and he was screaming, I'm gonna F you, B. I'm gonna F you. And I'm just thinking, like, I'm your wife. You don't have to rape me. You know what I mean? But that didn't end well, because I'm not one of those girls who will just bow down. You know, if a guy's going to beat you or whatever, I'm not just going to take it and cry about it. I fight back. I don't care how big you are. I don't care how small you are. If you're a guy and you want to hit me, you better hit and run, because when you hit me, I'm coming back at you. I'm not, you know, I'm not trying to sound like no big bad to the bone person, but I defend myself. I can't help it. It's just in me. But so we fist fought. I mean, honey, we fought it out. I don't know how we did not get kicked out of that hotel, but we left the next morning straight back to Spartanburg, you know, mad, and nobody spoke the whole way. And that blew over. Then we moved to Johnson City, Tennessee, to be like kind of right in the middle, in between his sister Megan, which is the only family he had that he really talked to, and my parents. We were like directly in the middle. So on Megan's birthday, which is January 19th, I think, if I'm not mistaken, we went back to South Carolina to take her some birthday presents. And when we got there, there were ambulances at her house. And long story short, Megan, while she was pregnant, she had a lot of blood pressure problems. And she ended up having to have an emergency C-section. And when they put her under, I can't really remember all the vivid details. I think like the tube, the vent that they put down her throat, it set up scar tissue. She had a lot of trouble out of that, so she had to have a stent put in, and she'd have to go get it cleaned and changed, blah, blah, blah. Well, she had woke up that morning, and it was like completely closed off, and she walked in there. She was living with her friend, Amanda. If you watch this video, Amanda, hey girl. Anyway, Megan died. Just long story short, it was really sad. Really, really, really sad story. Really pitiful. But guess what? Megan was not Blaine's sister. Megan was Blaine's daughter. And Megan had a 2-year-old little boy. She had a grandson. That was all a lie. Okay? So, I'm cleaning house. This is after... No, I completely left this whole part out. While we were right before we moved from South Carolina to Tennessee, as we were boxing our things up, I was cleaning things out. I dropped a Bible that was in the entertainment center, and a paper flew out. And I picked that paper up and was looking at it, and it was a thing about Blaine. He was stalking somebody at the mall, and he was not allowed at that mall. He was banned from that mall. You know, typical Blaine behavior, I'll just be honest. But it had his age on there, and at that point, I finally seen Blaine was not 28. Blaine was 40-something. He was, I don't remember how old he was at the time, but he was born in 1961. He was a month older than my father. Yes. Everything that man told me was a lie. But we moved to Tennessee, like I said. Then Megan died, and he got worse and worse, and I was finally like, I'm done with you, girl, bye. And that was the end of it. Never seen him again. Took 11 years to get him to divorce me, and the only way I got him to sign papers in was because in the adventure of trying to get my divorce, I discovered that he had married another woman while he was married to me, so I had blackmailed him, me and my lawyer, that if he did not sign those papers, we were going to get him put in jail for bigamy. So he signed the papers, and I got divorced from him, and I'm free, and I don't ever want to see him again. I don't want nothing to do with him. He is a psychopath. The wife that he married while he was married to me, I have talked to her a few times. He pulled a big old scheme on her too, like he did me, but hers is like a whole different scenario, and it's kind of worse than mine. But yeah, so that's the story about when I ran away and married a psychopath over the internet that I didn't know. So I basically got catfished, honey, big time. But I do want to say, before I end this video, if you got little girls and they're on the internet, you need to pay attention to what they're doing. If you think you know what they're doing, it doesn't matter. Check it anyway, because girls are sneaky, number one. There are lots of psychopaths out there, number two. And the internet is a very dangerous place, number three. It can be the best thing in the world. The internet is wonderful. But the internet is dangerous. And there are people just online looking for girls to trick, to manipulate, and the rest of their intentions, I don't know. I mean, it could be bad. But you need to really pay attention to what your daughters are doing online, because it can happen to anybody. You know what I mean? Like, I lived in a very strict home where my mom and dad knew every time I took a breath, and it happened to me, I was sneaky enough to get away with it. I did get caught, but you see the outcome of how it all ended. And I thank the good Lord that I got out of that relationship safely, because he definitely has the potential to be so overly controlling to, you know, kill somebody and throw their, you know, hide their body. I mean, he is a true blue psychopath. I kind of feel bad for him. Like, he needs prayers because he's got some mental issues going on. But anyway, I feel like I've been telling that story for an hour. I think I hit all the important parts. I mean, you know, I could tell you all kinds of stuff that happened during the marriage, but the high points, I think I covered them. So anyway, hope you enjoyed this video. I actually like doing story times. I like telling you guys stuff and letting you get to know me. I have several stories. I think my next one, I'll do another little poll to see which one y'all like, but I think the next time I tell you about the time I went to jail. I've been in jail one time, and I don't ever want to go back, but it was worth it. It involves a cheating man, a nose, blood, my fist. So, if you guys are interested in that one, make sure you let me know down below. So, I hope you enjoyed this. I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.